Morning, hello. Welcome to Better Than Messages. I'm Lindsay Zimmerman, and today we are talking about self introspection. This is a very important topic because one of the most important things that we can do as human beings is learn ourselves. And in a previous message, I had mentioned how this in particular is very tricky because we are soft creatures. We tend to hide things from ourselves, things that are happening in our own minds, because we want to protect ourselves from hurt and guilt and shame and all of those things. But the reason that self-introspection is so important is because within the depths of our own minds are the keys to good karma and abundance and passion and possibilities, growth, and the genesis of a new version of ourselves. And so I want to encourage everyone to take a step towards self-introspection if you can every single day. And what do I mean by that? I mean digging into your own minds, looking at your thoughts, paying attention to your thoughts, not as a person who is thinking, but as a spirit who is observing the ego's thoughts. And that is a big, big difference because we are thinking all day long. And some of those thoughts are very productive, helpful. It's, going through a checklist in your mind. This is what I need to get done today. This is how I'm going to do it. All of that stuff, right? But some of our thoughts are there as resistance to completion of becoming ourselves, to the reality of what our purpose is. Some of these things that we think are there to cause us suffering, and they're a mode of resistance for using or for creating cruelty to oneself. And so when we are working on self-introspection, we need to use our own discernment. We need to be very pragmatic about the thoughts that we're having and how we are perceiving those thoughts. Because again, and I can't stress this enough, some of the thoughts that we have, our inner dialogue that we have with ourselves, some of these things are our spirit talking to us, and you can recognize that voice because it is kind. It's not always gentle, but it's kind. It comes from a place of trying to help you, trying to guide you. And some of these thoughts are, like I said, resistance to progression forward. And you can recognize the difference because some of them are productive thoughts and some of them are just harmful thoughts about ourselves, thoughts about others. And it's through having the courage to actually observe those thoughts instead of pushing some of them down. If there might be some things that we don't want to think about that are hurtful to think about, and it doesn't mean that those are the things that we should avoid because they hurt. It means that those are the things that we need to take a step back from, not personalize those thoughts so much, and recognize when these are productive thoughts or harmful thoughts. And it takes a level of pragmatism, seeing how these thoughts affect your mode of being in the world. And if they cause you distraction, if they cause you to be hedonistic, if they cause you to be in a state of decay as opposed to growth, then those thoughts are not helpful. And we need to mitigate the effects of those thoughts by recognizing them, recognize their ineffectuality in our lives, and by moving past them towards thoughts that are actually helpful, that do promote growth, that are passionate from a standpoint of our spirit, as opposed to passionate in the way that can cause distraction. And this is how we are able to gain more and more good karma in our lives, as opposed to ending up at the bottom of the karmic wheel, getting crushed by the consequences of our actions and thoughts and interactions with others. And this does take courage, because a lot of us are really submerged in patterns of thought that are very, very unhealthy for us. And so the reason that this to me is really important to talk about today, for me personally, is because I believe that every human being is entitled to have abundance on this planet. We live on a Goldilocks planet, right? Everything here is perfectly designed and set up for us to have abundance and success in our lives. We have an abundance of food and abundance of materials for shelter. We have warmth from the sun. We have all of the things that we need to support us in our goals and in our lives daily, and throughout our lifetime. We have everything that we need. So human beings inherently are entitled to abundance. And the only reason that we don't have that in our lives is because of self-sabotage, honestly. It's allowing ourselves to become distracted. It's allowing ourselves to, it's exposing ourselves to undue suffering. It's being cruel to ourselves and others. And all of these ways of being is what prevents us from gaining the abundance that we are inherently entitled to as human beings on this planet. But let's focus now on what abundance actually is. Again, I said it's having enough food and shelter and water, yes, of course, to support your human form, right? To make sure that you have all of the necessities of being. It's Maslow's hierarchy, right? But abundance is also having more than enough, and that's not just in material wealth. That is having more than enough in support from your community. It's having more than enough of emotional support and stability, having more than enough to feed your spirit. It's easy to feed our bodies as human beings. We have food all around us, but what are we feeding our spirit? Okay, so when I talk about abundance, it's not just materialistic things. Abundance is the necessities that we need to live a good life, to have growth, to have good karma, all of those things. And really, if we don't have those things in our lives, it's more than likely because we have been hiding from our thoughts that are actually sabotaging that level of stability and abundance in our lives. And so again, this takes courage to identify the ways that we are sabotaging that for ourselves, and having the courage to accept, we've talked about this in other messages, having the courage to accept that you can and should become a new version of yourself, have the genesis of a new version of yourself, because you are becoming what you are meant to become in this lifetime. And having the courage to do that, not to be stagnant, not to allow the special gifts and interests and talents and skills that you have been given, not allow those things to decay, to actually get them to serve you. Being pragmatic about what it is that you have the ability and talent to do, what your resources are, how can you use those resources to your advantage to gain a higher level of abundance in your life, to have consistent growth in your life. I'm not talking about monetarily, I'm talking about spiritually, emotionally, because when you develop spiritually and emotionally, you automatically level up in the materialistic world. One of the most important things when I think about abundance is the greatest, most stable, most long lasting forms of abundance comes from loving collaboration. No man is an island. This is a fact. We cannot get things done without each other. And so when we look to bring relationships into our lives that support our goals towards growth, towards abundance, and we attract people into our lives who have the same level of passion for their purpose that you have, that's how you build loving collaboration. When you are able to build those types of relationships in your life, you are essentially creating more and more opportunities for celebration. And we all have an inherent right to be celebrating in our lives every single day. And so shedding all of the thought patterns and behaviors that bring suffering and cruelty into our lives is how we are able to gain more and more of those positive changes in our lives, to be able to recognize our blessings when they come to us. And it's a certain level of trust that begins to develop once you step back from your own mind, because introspection is tricky. When you are looking into the depths of your mind, if you get too far in there, that's lunacy, right? It's being pragmatic about the way that you think, stepping back as the observer. But also, as you gain that skill, a skill toward defending yourself and your beliefs, a skill toward cultivating healthy relationships, bringing people into your life who match you on your level of passion, all of those things. This is when you begin to build the skill of trusting spirit, trusting God in your life. And I like to say that human beings are the momentum that pushes us forward, but it's really spirit. When we're doing it right, it is spirit that has the reins, and they're guiding us. And so as you become skilled at removing thoughts that cause suffering and cruelty within ourselves, we gain the skill of trusting spirit. We gain that direction that doesn't take it doesn't take us overthinking everything, trying to be perfect, trying to not mess up, trying to control everything. It doesn't take us doing that, because we have built the skill of trusting spirit to guide us where we need to go as we are diligent and do the work that we need to do. And we are open-eyed and accepting of all of the different possibilities, not getting distracted away from our purpose. That's how we begin to move forward down the path of our purpose. And so I feel like this reading or this message is just a little bit scattered, but it's because this is different, and it applies differently to everyone. We all have our own individual ways of coping and self-defense mechanisms, and ways that we push people away, ways that we convince ourselves that we are unworthy, ways that we're cruel to ourselves. And I feel like this message today is so important, because it's really about understanding that you're worthy, understanding that the world is going to be cruel to you. So why be cruel to yourself? There's enough pain and suffering in the world already. So we don't need to cause undue suffering and cruelty to ourselves. Understand that we are worthy of loving collaborations. We are worthy of gaining good karma in our lives. Good karma brought on by our own good actions, right? And we are worthy of having the courage to defend those things. So I hope that this message makes sense to you. I hope that it's helpful, that you can take it through your day, apply it as you see different scenarios come up that represent what we're talking about here, and that you can take a step back, be the observer, and allow yourself to build good karma through your own good actions every single day. I love you so much, and I'll see you real soon.